We are back, and
Yes.
better than ever. We've got Kimberly Klein, Pops, me.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to build like a whole crew here because I want a longer intro. But nonetheless, today we are talking about how finance and insurance managers work with sales managers at the dealership. I'll tee this up for both of you, and I'll start with you, Dad. So,
Okay.
when I come in as a customer and I'm buying a car from a car dealership, I
Yes.
engage with probably you third. First receptionist, second salesperson, third eventually the sales manager to close a deal.
Yes.
Then eventually, potentially like weeks later, as I go through the car buying process, I meet Kimberly in the back office. She comes and greets me.
A month
What
later.
I want to know is it could be a month later. Just make sure it's before the end of the month incentives.
Please.
Close.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, how do you two interact in a dealership? You guys having lunch together? You buddy?
No.
Like you're not. Explain to me the relationship.
The sales managers have a different agenda than a finance manager. The sales manager's agenda in a dealership is to figure out how to get the customer to say yes to buying the car. Okay, the finance manager's agenda is to figure out, now that that person has said yes, how do I get them to buy other products so that I can add to my potential income, and how can I make some money financing the vehicle or leasing the vehicle to them if it's a finance or a lease. I have worked with finance managers that get very upset with sales managers who don't build enough leg, as we call it in the industry, which is profit in the rate that's quoted to the customer, or profit in the payment that's quoted to the customer for the finance person. And Kimberly can speak to this because it's so true. We could, on the sales side of things, we could be working for hours, especially on a payment buyer, to get somebody to finally say yes to a payment. And let's say that payment is $375 a month, and it took us hours to get there, between the customer putting down some money and the sales department giving up some front end profit, and then the next thing you know, when the customer's back in finance, where they wouldn't pay more than $375 a month to get the car for 60 months, they walk out of the finance office at $450 a month for 72 months.
Oh, that's
okay,
so bad.
And so
It's so true.
And so.
Yeah.
It took so much to get them to say yes to the $375. It took a great deal of skill and knowledge on a finance manager's perspective to get them to pay an extra $75 a month for an extra 12 months. But there's just two different separate agendas there. So I'll let you take it over from there, and then I'll tell you, when you throw it back to me later, how I always tried to work with my F&I managers.
That was so well said. So well said. I've heard some sales managers say that their finance managers are putting them together. You may have heard that once or twice in your career.
Yes.
They're putting me together. Whenever the customer walks out at 400 and something, you worked so hard to get them to the payment that they wanted to be at. Whenever I was working with sales managers, I wanted flow, and I wanted transparency with my sales manager. I was fortunate enough to, don't get me wrong, I had some really bad sales managers in the past that would also try and put me together, and we had some struggles. But in the last half of my career, I had some really great sales managers. And what made them so great is that the level of honesty and transparency. Look, Kim, I've got a nothing deal here. Do your best in the finance office, but this is what I've got. Nothing. So good luck. I love those because my sales manager was honest with me and transparent with me and showing me, because I don't always know back in the office what you've got in a deal or how hard you work to get there. I don't know
to
that.
get the deal. Yeah.
Just like,
and I think
you don't know how hard I'm working back in the finance office to do my job. So, yeah.
I will say this. I used to have salespeople complain to me about the finance manager taking so long to finish up a deal. And I used to look at my salespeople and I'd go, well, you know what? He or she never complained about how long it took you to close your deal. You need to let your finance manager do what they need to do in order to make their living. They didn't come out here and rush you trying to make yours. And then one of the things that I always like to do, especially on deals that were very hard to structure, maybe because of lower credit scores or whatever, but I would oftentimes ask my finance people to come and help me structure the deal as I was setting it up to try and close it.
Yes.
Because I just found that so much easier because I've already got your buy-in when I do it like that.
Yeah. No, that is so important. It is so important to have a finance manager work well with the sales manager. And that is where the team mentality comes into play here. We are essentially all working here as a team at the dealership. So let's do it with honesty and transparency, and let's all work towards the same goal. And that makes for a happy relationship for everyone.
It is, as I've described dealerships in the past, it is the most individualized team sport you'd ever find.
Yes, that's true. That's a great way to put that. It is.
Yes.
It
So
really
my
is.
question to both of you is, let's put ourselves in the customer's shoes, right? Because that's someone clicked on this video and they want to understand your dynamics so that then they can be more informed when they go in the dealership. Can I ask the sales manager to get the F&I manager involved when I'm out on the sales floor, or will they just be like, what are you talking about? Get out of here. Because the one thought I will throw out there, and I get beat up in the comments for this all the time, I ask questions and I answer them. Sorry, I just did it. But the more integrated you are, the better experience I have as a customer. So I kind of think I want that, don't I?
Well, I think it's fine for the customer to want it. I think most dealerships would have a hard time figuring out a way to provide it because it goes against the way dealerships think the flow has to go in order to close a car deal. Most dealership personnel are just stuck in what they're used to, and if a customer comes in and asks for something that to the sales staff and the finance staff would be somewhat out of the ordinary, then as creative as all of us are that are in the industry, that throws us for a loop.
Absolutely, I agree. It does throw us for a loop. However, with that being said, Zach, absolutely. I've had customers come in and say, I want to speak to the finance manager, and boom, they want to talk about rates right out of the gate. It's not about the car, it's about the rate. And I call those kind of customers, you're buying a rate, not a car. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they want to talk to the finance manager right away. I was always more than happy to go out and talk to a customer. It makes them feel better. It calms them down a little bit. There are a lot of people, from a customer's perspective or point of view, it gets to the point sometimes maybe when it feels like there's a lot of people involved in their transaction. So if I can come out and help, I'll certainly do it. But it does disrupt the flow, like Ray says. We've got a flow. We've got a process typically in place at the dealership, and it sometimes can disrupt the flow.
It's hard for a lot of dealership personnel to adapt to that the disruption of the flow as they would like it. And one of the other things is that as a customer, you are an opportunity. That's how we in the business would refer to you. You're an opportunity. For the salesperson, you're an opportunity to sell the car. For a finance person, and I had a finance director that I used to work with, and he understood that if there were times that deals were figured at buy rate or leases were figured at buy rate, it was so we could get the customer to say yes, and that ultimately the sales department's responsibility was to get a customer to say yes so that the sales department could hand over an opportunity to the finance manager. And there are, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I've come across an awful lot of finance managers that don't appreciate the opportunity. They think that they should just be set up and that the money should already be factored into the payment and the rate and everything else, and they don't have to do anything to make their money.
Exactly.
As opposed to as opposed to looking at it as an opportunity to ply your craft.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It is an opportunity. Every customer is an opportunity that comes to you. Any finance manager that gets into that zone of my sales manager, I'm going to be angry at them if they don't set it up for me, should not be a finance manager. That's not how it goes. That's not how any of this works. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, having both of you share this with me, I mean, part of the reason, like everyone knows by now that pretty much everything we do at Your Auto Advocate is free. All the content on YouTube is free. The application is free. Like if you use the application a bunch and you run 100 market price reports, like yeah, we charge you for that. But like pretty much everything's free. Where we think we might be able to make money is actually kind of what you just described. It's like the dealership is so fragmented in the sense that the sales department sells the car and then they hand it off and then the finance department tries to make all this money in the back office. And then they hand it off and it's like now the service department with your service advisor is supposed to make a bunch of money there. And then you hear the saying all the time, the service department sells the next vehicle. You know, it's the relationship you have with that service advisor. And so I look at it with Your Auto Advocate, I'm like, can we just help as many people as possible make the car buying experience better? Check that box. And then, okay, should you buy a vehicle service contract? Should you buy gap insurance? Should you buy tire and wheel? I don't know. Are you going to? Okay, if you are, then like buy it from us instead of from the dealership. Like I don't want to be a bad guy or anything, but it's like if they're going to hand you off, like let us slip in there. Let us help you. And it's simply because, like, I mean, it's a big moneymaker, which definitely you've taught me, Dad, and Kimberly, I know this, like, intimately. The reason we could go on a family vacation, the reason I could be a part of the basketball team, like, was because you made a living from the car dealership. But if that's the antiquated approach to, like, the handoff, and then as a customer I have this not-so-great experience from time to time, maybe Your Auto Advocate can fit in there. So I don't know, I'm just the young guy in the room, but it is an interesting idea that we're pursuing.
Well, there's, like I said, it's the most individualized team sport that you could ever hope to find.
It really is.
And you know, once we get done with sales and once they get done with finance and then they get turned over to the service department, I tell my service manager, I said, you don't understand. You can destroy in 10 minutes what it took us 5 hours to build in the way of rapport. You know, I need you to treat these people like they matter. Okay, not like they're just a number.
Absolutely.
You know,
one of the worst things, the worst thing for a finance manager is after you have done your part in the front and you've made the customer happy, okay, and then they come back in my office and you're in your office, Ray, and 10 minutes later you see the customer bolting out. That's like... That is a nightmare situation for a finance manager. I always wanted to crawl under my desk. I didn't want to come out and tell my sales manager, you're just not going to believe this. But if you've got that good relationship between sales manager and finance manager, you will have already known that it was iffy in the first place, you know.
And you can count on the fingers of one hand the number of times I've seen that happen in the 43 years that I did it. I know when we would have customers and they were all concerned about the rate. My response, and maybe it's just the salesman in me, but my response always was, I know you want the exact rate. I don't have the exact rate for you, but if the finance manager doesn't come up with the rate you like, you'll be the first one that's ever walked out of that office because we couldn't get them to the rate that they liked.
Excellent.
It just doesn't happen that often. I mean,
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's a nightmare scenario.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments down below.
Yes.
You know what I'm about to do here.
Yeah.
If you like this video.
Yeah.
B, what you want to hear us talk about in the F&I office. Kimberly's counting along at home as well.
Yeah.
And C,
the letter C,
you later, because we are signing off. Kimberly, it's so great having you on Your Auto Advocate.
It was so great to be here.
Yes, and my gears are spinning. We got to find someone in the service department as well. I know you've got someone in mind, Dad. I've got someone in mind, Kimberly.
Okay.
The Your Auto Advocate team's going to grow even more. We're going to have... I was going to say something that would have been weird on camera, but we're going to have more people on, and
we're going to demystify how cars are bought, sold, and serviced.
Oh,
how's that?
Oh, I love that. I love it. That's
is that a Paul Simon song?
If it's not, I'll commission him to write one for us. Yeah. 50 ways to leave your car salesman.
You're good on your feet. All right,
hey, aren't you in Nashville? You should go record that right now. You're in Nashville. There's a good studio down there somewhere.
I want to get a haircut in Nashville, and I want to tell them to make me look like a country singer.
You gotta get yourself a big Stetson, okay?
Yeah. Thanks, Kim.